This video right here still getting new views after going viral. Shows a female fencer who refused to compete against a biological male. Stephanie Turner was disqualified from a tournament in Maryland after, as you can see here, she took a knee when she was forced to compete against Redmond Sullivan, who now identifies as transgender, but competed in the men's category just 2 years ago.
It's insane to me that we're still talking about this in 2025. It's one of those 80-20 issues that most of Americans agree on. Men should not play against women in sports, okay? And what it's going to take is brave souls like Stephanie Turner here to actually boycott, to stand up and say, I am not going to play against a man because he has a distinct physical advantage. And that's exactly what happened. However, according to USA Fencing Chairman Damien Lehfeldt, right, she's in the wrong. She's the one who's going to be disqualified for simply speaking the truth. And what we're going to see today, of course, is that same chairman being roasted on Capitol Hill by Brandon Gill. But before we get to these clips, don't forget to like and comment on this video so we break through the algorithms. Here we go.
Mr. Lehfeldt, I'd like to ask you a few questions. Do you think that men should be allowed in women's locker rooms?
Sir, those regulations are set by tournament organizers.
I'm just asking you yes or no. Do you think men should be allowed in women's locker rooms?
I don't have a personal opinion on that.
You don't have you have a personal opinion on a lot of things, but not on that?
Sure. I mean, it's a locker room is not really an area where people interact.
So the answer is yes.
I don't
Do you
really
think that men should be allowed to share showers with women in athletic facilities?
I think that showering is a private activity and that it should be private.
And it should be private. There's oftentimes communal showers. Are you okay with men showering with women?
I don't have an opinion on that in the context of USA.
You don't? So. Interesting. That's an astounding thing to not have an opinion on. I think most normal people have an opinion on that. Are you okay with women being at a disadvantage when competing against men in sports?
Sir, mixed events happen all the time, and women are often...
That's not my question. Are you okay with... Let me ask it this way. Are you okay with cis females being at a disadvantage?
If their competitor, assuming that you're talking about...
It's a yes or no question.
Female, that they've met the requirements set forth in the policy.
Why did you post on social media for the world to see? You were asked in an anonymous question, which you posted online, are you okay with cis females being at a disadvantage? You said, yeah.
Yeah, I believe it was Congressman Cloud that had asked me about that, sir, and I'm happy to address it again. That was a one-word answer to a more nuanced topic, and I feel like if I could take it back and expound a little bit more than what I had there.
Reclaiming my time.
Sure.
Do you think that do you think that parents who don't want their daughters competing against men in women's sports are whiny?
No, sir.
You don't? Why did you write that on social media? I've got a picture here where you posted that. You were allegedly responding to a parent who didn't want their daughter being beaten up by men in sports competitions. You said, I'm not going to pull her from the sport and write a whiny email announcing my departure.
Sir, Mr. Congressman Jack had asked me about that, and want to be crystal clear, that was an inappropriate message.
Do you think that they're cowardly?
Sir, no, I don't. I don't at all. And in fact...
Why did you write that on social media?
I regret it, sir. I deleted it shortly after posting, and I certainly don't feel that way anymore. And given a lot of the messages that we receive, and even conversations that I've had...
Do you think that parents who don't want their daughters competing against men in sports should be compared to the Ku Klux Klan?
No, absolutely not. And
why did you do
that? I said that in the message, sir.
Why did you do that?
That was inappropriate.
That was inappropriate?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're right. That isn't inappropriate. I'd like to read what you wrote and what you posted on social media.
Sure.
Responding allegedly to a lady who had these concerns. The only wizard that's going to dig you out of the myopic hole you've put yourself and your family in is one of the, quote, grand wizard variety.
Inappropriate, sir, and I acknowledge that I said it, and I will commit to never making a message like that again.
That was in response to a parent, according to you on social media, who had a problem with this. Was this a real email that you were responding to?
It was a real email, sir. I did not respond to it and hit send.
This was a real email. Did an actual parent write this, or did you write this email?
It was written by an actual person claiming to be a parent. They were not a member of our...
Were you that actual person?
No, sir.
You were not that actual person, but you staged this whole interaction.
The response, sir, was not real, and I regret that.
Okay. You think inclusivity presumably is a big part of the fencing community, is that right?
I would say so, sir. We're a very welcoming community, and I'm proud of that.
Are you welcoming to Trump supporters?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Then why did you, with your Facebook page, from the fencing coach, write, imagine being one of 71 million people dumb enough to vote re-election for a treasonous clown who's permanently banned from Twitter for inciting an insurrection, you mad MAGA bros?
I acknowledge that I stated that in my personal capacity, sir. However, as chair,
That was from the fencing coach.
I have to acknowledge that 77 million people voted for him in re-election.
That wasn't your personal capacity. That was from your capacity as, quote, the fencing coach online.
Yes,
Like,
that is my blog, sir. That's my publication, and I acknowledge writing that.
All right, my time is up.
So this is something that Representative Gill is actually really good at. He brings the receipts. He finds all the old tweets, all the old messages, all the old posts, and throws them in the faces of these people testifying before Congress, right? In this case, Damien Lehfeldt, right? The chairman of USA Fencing is saying, yeah, it's okay for men to be with women in showers. Oh, it's a private space, but in every single locker room, it's all communal, but I don't really have a stance on that. Yeah, we know how you really feel. Yeah, and of course, all of the cis females out there, right? You have to just suck it up. All the parents out there, you're out of luck. You're all a bunch of whiny crybabies. You're all basically just like the KKK, all right? This is what it's about. You mad MAGA bros, just shut up and take it. We've decided that men can compete against women, and everyone's okay with that. Only, of course, we're not, right? As I mentioned, one of the 80-20 issues, the Democrats are going to lose on this every single time, and all of these far leftists haven't realized it yet. But all the Democrats have completely bought into this garbage. It doesn't matter if we're talking about boxing, if we're talking about billiards, we're talking about fencing, we're talking about mountain biking, we're talking about running. It doesn't matter to the Democrats how often we've shown that men are actually beating women in these sports, taking away trophies, taking away scholarships, taking away spots on sports teams, right? It's happening over and over and over again, but the left refuses to acknowledge it. You still have deniers out there saying, oh, not one has been done, or it's such a small percentage that it doesn't really matter, right? But all it takes is one man in a woman's sport and he wins the whole thing, okay? And one thing I'd like to do as the party of science is point out to our Democrats across the aisle that yes, in fact, according to the NIH, women are weaker than men. Physically, right? As you can see over here, when it comes to bench press, they lift 59.2% less. When it comes to squatting, 57.2% less. When it comes to deadlift, 56.3% less. All right? The stats are there. The numbers are there. They're not going to lie. And as I mentioned, this is from the NIH. So please, Democrats, trust the government like you always say to do, right? Take these numbers to heart because this is the actual truth. These are the facts. And every time you allow men into women's sports, we know what the outcome is going to be in advance, as has been proven over and over and over again. And thank goodness Donald Trump has finally taken some steps to stop this madness. But then again, please, Democrats, keep shooting yourselves in the foot over issues like these that no one agrees with you on. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and say hi to your mom for me.